At 2:40 a.m., a frantic 911 call echoes through the line. On the other end, novelist Michael Peterson. My wife had an accident. She fell down the stairs. She's still breathing. Please come. Police rush to the scene. Inside a grand home on Cedar Street, they find Kathleen Peterson at the bottom of a back staircase. Blood everywhere. Too much blood, some think, for a fall. Her body lies awkwardly on the steps, her head battered, her hair soaked red. Michael insists she fell, but to the investigators standing in that shadowy stairwell, something about the scene doesn't add up. And so begins one of the most mysterious, divisive, and cinematic true crime cases in modern American history. On the surface, Michael and Kathleen Peterson were Durham's power couple. He, a decorated Marine, a novelist, a columnist. She, a successful executive at Nortel Networks, earning six figures, smart, admired, and social. They had a blended family. Kathleen's daughter Caitlin from her first marriage, and Michael's children, Todd, Clayton, and two adopted daughters, Martha and Margaret Ratliff. Their sprawling home, the mansion-like Cedar Street house, was the stage for lavish dinners and wine-filled evenings. By all appearances, the Petersons had everything: money, prestige, influence. But behind the polished exterior, cracks were beginning to form. When police arrived that December night, they were stunned. Kathleen had 7 deep lacerations on the back of her head. There was blood not only on the floor but sprayed on the walls, pooled on the steps, smeared across surfaces. A fall? Possible. But this much blood? Unlikely. Even stranger. No skull fracture, no brain swelling. The injuries looked more like blows than a fall. But investigators found no weapon. Hidden fact: the staircase where Kathleen was found wasn't the grand central staircase of the house. It was the narrow back staircase, tucked away, dimly lit, and rarely used. Why was Kathleen there? What was she doing in that part of the house so late at night? Michael insisted it was an accident. He said he and Kathleen had been outside by the pool, drinking wine, enjoying the night. She went inside first. Minutes later, he found her at the bottom of the stairs. But suspicion turned toward him quickly. First, he was the only other person in the house. Second, the amount of blood looked like the aftermath of a beating. Third, detectives began digging into Michael's private life. What they found shocked Kathleen's friends and family. Michael had been secretly bisexual. Police discovered emails and evidence of contact with male escorts. The state argued Kathleen had discovered this that night, leading to a confrontation. The defense countered, Kathleen knew. She accepted Michael's sexuality. Their marriage, they said, was unconventional but strong. But the damage was done. Prosecutors had a motive. As if the case weren't strange enough, prosecutors introduced a chilling twist. Back in 1985, in Germany, Michael's close friend Elizabeth Ratliff had been found dead at the bottom of a staircase. Elizabeth was the mother of 2 little girls, Margaret and Martha. After her death, Michael and his first wife took the girls in and eventually raised them as their own. Her death had been ruled natural, the result of a brain hemorrhage. But now, nearly 2 decades later, her body was exhumed in Texas. The state argued the injuries matched Kathleen's, suggesting a disturbing pattern. Coincidence? Or history repeating itself? Michael's trial became a media circus. The prosecution leaned heavily on blood spatter analysis. Their expert testified that the patterns on the wall could only be created by repeated blows, not a fall. They suggested a fireplace poker or similar object as the weapon, though none was ever found. Hidden fact: years later, the infamous missing blow poke was discovered in the Peterson home, covered in dust, never used in violence. The defense, meanwhile, argued Kathleen's fall was accidental. They brought in their own experts who said the blood evidence was misinterpreted. They pointed to her drinking, her Valium use, her stress from work at Nortel. Still, the jury sided with the state. In 2003, Michael Peterson was convicted of murder and sentenced to life without parole. But even after conviction, speculation swirled. Enter one of the strangest theories in true crime: the owl theory. Some experts propose that Kathleen's injuries, the strange scalp lacerations without skull fractures, were consistent with being attacked by a barred owl outside the house. Supposedly, an owl could have swooped, tangled in her hair, causing her to run inside, disoriented, and fall on the staircase. Wild? Yes. Impossible? Maybe not. Feathers and microscopic owl talons were reportedly found in Kathleen's hair. The theory remains one of the most bizarre but oddly plausible twists in the case. Michael sat in prison for nearly a decade. But then the credibility of the state's star blood analyst, Dwayne Deaver, collapsed. It was revealed he had exaggerated or misrepresented evidence in multiple trials. His work in Michael's case was now tainted. In 2011, Michael was granted a new trial. For the first time in 8 years, he walked free on bail. The case that once seemed closed was cracked wide open again. By 2017, Michael was 73 years old. A new trial would be grueling, expensive, and uncertain. Instead, he entered an Alford plea to voluntary manslaughter. This allowed him to maintain his innocence while acknowledging the state had enough evidence to convict. The sentence: time served. Michael was a free man. To some, it was justice delayed but delivered. To others, it was proof that the truth would never be known. The case exploded into global consciousness when Netflix released The Staircase. The documentary pulled viewers into the drama. Not just the crime, but the family dynamics, the legal chess match, and the human cost. Millions debated. Was Michael guilty? Or was he the victim of overzealous prosecution and flawed science? The series blurred lines between fact and narrative, leaving audiences fascinated, divided, and unsettled. 2 decades later, the Peterson case is still debated. Some point to the blood, the Ratliff coincidence, the secrecy, and say, guilty. Others look at the shaky forensic evidence, the Alford plea, the owl theory, and say, maybe not. Kathleen's death remains one of the most haunting mysteries in modern true crime. A woman who deserved answers. A husband who remains shrouded in suspicion. And a staircase that became the stage for a tragedy that may never be fully understood. Closing reflection. The case of Kathleen Peterson reminds us that sometimes truth and justice are not clear-cut. They live in shadows, in contradictions, in theories we may never prove. Was Kathleen the victim of a tragic accident? Or was she silenced in violence? Or was something stranger at play? The answers lie buried at the bottom of the staircase. Not just wood and steps, but a stage of shadows that has whispered doubt and echoed questions for more than 2 decades. Every creak of those steps is a reminder that the truth may forever remain hidden in silence, leaving the world haunted by mysteries that refuse to fade.